welcome to another episode of Todd Talk. Because when Todd talks, people listen. Hopefully. Could you even see my ear? Yeah, I guess you can. It's time for another epic death battle prediction. And this time we got a nice matchup and an ice matchup. Yeah, you're going to be hearing that pun a lot, I'm sorry. We have Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat versus Glacius from Killer Instinct. And this is a very intriguing matchup for many reasons, not the least of which is because we just had a firefight between Natsu Dragno from Fairy Tail and Portgas the Ace of One Piece, which, by the way, I correctly predicted. But this is also the second time that Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct have fought. The first time was Fulgore versus Sector way back, I believe, in Season 1. And that was actually a very good 2D matchup, and now we're going to see this again, and it's going to be interesting because not just because of that, but they have very different kinds of fighting styles, which I'll get to soon, because it's going to heavily influence my pick. So first up, we have Sub-Zero, Kuai Liang. That's very important. It's not Bihan, who is, for whatever reason, the more known Sub-Zero character. Bihan was, of course, killed by Scorpion on Scorpion's quest for revenge, wrongful revenge, and then obviously his brother took over. And he's been like the main Sub-Zero character ever since, outside of certain media. And in fact, Sub-Zero will even be in Injustice 2, which is made by the Mortal Kombat people of NetherRealm Studios. So he's been around a while, and because of that, he's had a lot of games where he's been featured in, and because of the evolution of the Mortal Kombat series, he's had a lot of interesting attacks given to him. Now, a little bit of background on Sub-Zero. He is a descendant of the Cryomancers, which are a race from Outworld. His father was from Outworld. Came to Earth as an agent of the Lin Kuei, and met an American woman, had Bihan and Kuai Liang. And then when they were of age, he took them to China to become Lin Kuei assassins, because that's what fathers do. I'm just joking. Then again, if I was an assassin, no. But then again, once again, they were trained as brilliant warriors for Lin Kuei. They were absolutely fierce. They were two of the top of the Lin Kuei clan. And then, Bihan died, Kuai Liang took over, and his story truly began. He's done a lot. He's been a defender of Earthrealm. He has led the Lin Kuei, especially after they went back crap crazy and decided to turn all of their warriors into cyborgs, which is how Sector and Cyrax got made. Kuai Liang escaped, defeated them, and then took over Lin Kuei for himself. And he's fought all manner of beings and gods, as what is Mortal Kombat. And even Raiden, the god of thunder, has said that he's not only stronger than his brother, who was the best in the Lin Kuei at the time. He's admitted he's like one of the best fighters in that he knows. So that's pretty high praise. Now, what makes Sub-Zero interesting to me isn't just his, his ice abilities and his nice abilities. Told you. But the style he uses it now. Because he's a cryomancer, he can manipulate, ice in a variety of ways, and even so much that he can actually manipulate his body to become ice or even become water, which is really, really cool. He has various amounts of up-close and personal attacks, which goes great with his Lin Kuei training of knowing multiple martial arts. He has multiple projectile attacks, including being able to fire ice into the sky and having it literally rain down on opponents. He has a lot of moves that I like to call status changes and counters. What I mean by that is Sub-Zero, as far as I've read, I have played Mortal Kombat, and I have played as Sub-Zero before, but obviously I'm not like an super experienced Mortal Kombat fighter. He likes to literally try and trip up his opponents. What he does is he'll try and freeze them solid, go in to get damage. He'll alter the terrain so that he can literally freeze the ground they're walking on so that they slide around and get tripped up, and then he can actually flash freeze them solid, which is really, really cool. And as for the counter moves, he likes to use his ice to either get in even closer or trick them into thinking that they have him. He has this move that he'll create an ice duplicate of himself as the opponent is landing an attack, and then he'll just spawn out of it, so he takes like no damage because he landed the perfect counter. And then he's got my personal favorite, the icy counter, which is he'll literally envelop his body in ice, and then if his opponent attacks him physically, that's an important part, physically, they'll flash freeze, and then he'll teleport behind them somehow and have a sword at the ready to strike them down. Then, of course, there's his most weirdest move, the Tombstone Teleport, where he can literally just go and fall into ice / water and then arrive behind his opponent without them knowing, and he's ready to kill them. So he's got a lot of interesting moves, and he's an incredibly tough fighter. I mean, there's a reason he's lasted this long in the Mortal Kombat universe. He even became Cyber Sub-Zero, which I'm pretty sure they're not using, so didn't look that up, but he's had his abilities powered up, augmented, even naturally via the Dragon Medallion. So he's tough. I mean, there's a reason he's one of the most popular Mortal Kombat characters, and one of the few that Death Battle has not used, because they've used a lot of Mortal Kombat characters. So he's pretty cool. That pun wasn't meant, but it works. Then you got Glacius. Now, I'll fully admit, I do not know Killer Instinct. I've only played it once. I knew of it before Death Battle, I think. No, I did, because the game came out before I watched Death Battle, but the 2013 game. But I researched as best I can, so I fully admit that I totally could have missed something, and that my missing something could make my pick wrong. So, full warning, full disclosure. So Glacius is a galactic marshal in the 2013 version of the game, which is the story they're using here in Death Battle. He went to Earth to get some technology that had fallen to Earth hands. As we learned, it was Ultra Tech. It wasn't meant to be in Earth hands. It's actually a violation of 88 decrees, and so he had to go to take it from them, or else wipe them all out, or both. Whatever came first. But he got shot down by Ultra Tech because they're idiots, and they're evil idiots. That's the worst kind. And he fell in the Arctic, which is where he became what he is, because he could telekinetically manipulate certain elements to help him survive in environments. And since he fell in the Arctic, he became an ice warrior, and yes, a nice warrior. And Ultra Tech decided to call him Glacius because that just fit. So what makes Glacius interesting to me in comparison to Sub-Zero is, whereas Sub-Zero is, very in your face, he can do projectiles, but he's better up close. Glacius is a ranged fighter, and this is actually because of what happened in the original Killer Instinct games, where every one of those characters was like one type of fighter. Literally all of them fit into one type of fighter. But when they did Killer Instinct 2013, they decided, hey, we need to make these different kinds of fighters to, add some variety. So they made Glacius what's called a zone character, which means he can literally trap you in an area and just beat you down in that area. And so for Glacius, that area is long range. He is able to manipulate his body through his telekinesis and the ability to manipulate some kinds of ice. That's important. To extend his body parts, like his ice lance, which can basically reach across the entire screen, and icy hail, which apparently comes down in spike balls. Who knew? And various other projectiles. He likes to keep you far away. And he has moves that'll let you stay far away. So, like, if you do get in close, he has with his icy shoulder or cold shoulder, and he'll literally ram you to get you to go away. He does have some up close combos, but his specialty is long range. And like Sub-Zero, he is able to manipulate his body into puddles and other forms of ice, so that he can do special moves like his icy uppercut. And when he's in his puddle form, he can actually move around the stage very quickly. So, and he's completely invulnerable in that stage. But that may not be true depending on how the battle interprets it. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, if you freeze a puddle and you shatter it, that's what I'm saying. But Glacius, he's very, very powerful. He's a galactic marshal, and he's got experience. He's actually very wise, as far as I am told. And he didn't want to be on Earth. He didn't want to be Glacius. He just wanted to do his job. So you kind of have to feel bad for the guy. So where does this leave us with the matchup? It's very, very conflicting because, again, I could be totally wrong about how I'm interpreting Glacius' abilities. I mean, I looked at 2 different wikis on the character and a strategy guide about how he is described and how he plays in Killer Instinct 2013. So that's really what I'm going off of here. And everything that tells me says that he is a good long-range character, but if you get in close, you have a chance because his body is armor, and if you do a hit on his armor, he does not get hurt, but the armor will break after that, and it has to have time to recharge. There is no doubt in my mind that Sub-Zero can get in close, because that's who Sub-Zero is. He is, like I noted, he is a very much a status-changing counter character. So, I mean, he has 2 different teleport moves, which can totally mess up Glacius. Icy counter, which, Glacius could use Sub-Zero could use in close range, and Glacius would have to hit him close range, would cause a flash freeze, get teleported behind him, have the sword, bam, armor's already shattered, and then he just goes to wail on him. He's a better fighter, arguably. No, he's a better fighter definitely in close range because of his martial arts training, and specifically stated in the guide that I read about Glacius that his up close and personal moves are slow, which are not the problem for Kuai Liang because he is a freaking ninja, and he would be very, very fast in his delivery. And so unlike, say, Fulgor, who can literally just crank up his power level to take on Sector, Glacius doesn't have that ability. Now, there is the question of, can Glacius manipulate Sub-Zero's ice, which has been hinted at before by fans and both by Death Battle. I don't think he can. Even if he could, that doesn't mean he will. Let me explain. If you could put Glacius versus Glacius and Killer Instinct, and Glacius, one of them is going to get hurt. So he's not immune to ice attacks. And second of all, he has to be, focused enough. It's kind of like Pork Astiace, where he has to, will himself to be fire or not. Glacius has to will himself to, manipulate the ice. And to my knowledge, this only happens with his moves and his ice on his body, not other ice, because he fights in areas that don't have ice and he can create it himself. So I don't have a reason to believe that he can manipulate Sub-Zero's ice attacks. And again, even if for some reason he didn't use the ice attacks, which he could do, which Sub-Zero could totally do, and still, in my opinion, beat him because of his martial arts training, all it takes is just to crack that armor and then deliver that ice attack into the alien non-ice body. Because remember, Glacius 2013 is not an ice being. He is an alien in an icy shell, so there is something to kill under that. If he cracks that armor and he gets one shot, ice or not, he's going to kill him. And some of his fatalities include literally reaching into a body and ripping out a spine. So that has no ice to do with it. So, again, I could be missing something about Glacius, but based on what I'm seeing, based on the movesets I am seeing, I feel that even though Glacius is a better long-range character, because that's where his specialty is, I feel that Sub-Zero will be able to get in close, break that armor, and kill him. So my pick is going to be Kuai Liang Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat. There you go. And again, if I'm wrong, I will totally take it. That'll only be my second loss this season, so I can live with that. So with that, I am going to end this 48th episode of Todd Talk. We're getting up there in numbers, aren't we? Let me know who you think is going to win between Sub-Zero and Glacius, and why. If you think I've missed something that could tip the fight in Glacius' favor, mention it below, and I will totally eat crow in my reaction video next week. So, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you were listening, and I will see you around.